It's mainly being in first thing in the morning to make sure all the costumes are put into the various artists' rooms as they're in for the day, and make sure that they've got the relevant items that they need for the relevant scenes that they will be in, to make sure that everything is prepped properly before it goes into the rooms and all the accessories are there, and also to do the laundry so the laundry is prepared, ready for any future things we may need. Checking for the scene changes so we can see when artists have got changes and mark when we need to put those into their dressing rooms, ready for them to change. Sort out the general stock, so any stock that's no longer required to go back into the stores, so that tends to be known as housekeeping. Check if anything needs to be mended, altered, if the artists themselves have either gained or lost weight, and alter costumes appropriately there. General maintenance throughout the day, and keep on top of anything that the assistants or the designers require. And then we have the prepping to do towards the end of the day, ready for the following day's filming. I'm not involved directly on set unless extra help is needed on set, and then I'll be called to help the costume assistant. However, I will run backwards and forwards to set as and when things have been requested, or as can happen in a job where items might have been missed, like a badge left behind, and then we have to rush out and make sure that everything is ready for the costume assistant so they can go ahead with the filming. The continuity is mainly down to the assistants keeping on top of what's happening within the set situation. However, continuity that affects us is how items are put together on the rails, and make sure that they correspond with the designer's notes for each scene, because we don't film things in order. So we film scenes in different orders and different scenes throughout a day. So we have to make sure everything is there and precisely there for the costume assistant for when they're out on set. However, the costume assistant then needs to keep notes, photographs, and make sure when everything is edited together that everything will make sense. So if somebody is on set inside, that when they leave through a door they're dressed exactly the same, or their handbag is on the right shoulder, the umbrella is where it needs to be. So that's where continuity comes into play on the set. Right, purchasing of costumes can be made earlier on if we know certain things are required. So if we've got main artists who are coming in who might be a particular thing such as a nurse, we will make the decisions then as to what needs to be got out. However, the main decisions are made after reading the scripts and speaking to either the producers, if the producers need to be involved, or the directors, because it is the director's decision with many of the guest artists. The designers don't tend to go up to the set very often. However, if there are incidents that need to be looked at, or they're particularly worried about a certain aspect of what is being filmed, you will find the designer on set then. However, the designers are trying to prepare for what is coming up for the following day, setting up all the various aspects that are needed for fittings that are coming up, because within Doctors we do the fittings on the day that the people are actually doing the filming. So there is half an hour fitting. So there's a lot of shopping goes on, or phoning up hire companies, or going into our store. We actually have a store of costumes, and working everything out based on, hopefully, factual information we're given on the sizes of artists. Because that's the other thing that can happen. We can have artists who haven't told us their correct sizes, or haven't measured themselves recently. If a costume rips or needs to be altered, that's then down to me. That's when they call me in, and luckily, due to other programs I've worked on which have been very fast, I have got myself up to speed with doing alterations and mends within a certain amount of time. For instance, turning up a pair of trousers, we're probably talking 10 to 15 minutes. If I'm altering a jacket, we tend to take into consideration when we're doing the call times in a morning, are they going to make up first? And then I have the makeup time as well. So I'm given at least half an hour plus for that. Research can go on in various ways. In today's technology, of course, we use our iPads a lot and we will Google a lot of things. But a lot of designers you will find have a vast amount of books. Myself, I actually have a lot of costume photographs that I've collected over 20 odd years. But a lot of designers will have background knowledge from previous things they've worked on or their college knowledge, because most of us have done 4 years plus. So we will have knowledge there. But if it is a specific area, we will look into, we'll even ask people. One of our designers recently was asking advice on how to tie turbans for World War I. So we will ask other people's advice and get them in if necessary to show us what is required. Not really. They all fall into a similar category. If you've been trained to do those things, then you know how to work within those areas. However, certain periods are more difficult based on the fact that you can't do a lot of things as a flat pattern. You have to work things on a stand and work them out on a stand. And a classic case this time with doctors was a magician's costume that we worked on that was the 19 teens, and because it was a draped item, it had to be pinned before being sewn on a stand rather than being worked out on the flat. As a designer, you probably do liaise more with your assistants, although based on what requirements you want, you liaise with everybody. But as a mistress, I probably liaise more with the designers than the assistants. We do have to be aware of dangerous items that we may have to use that could be part of a costume. We also have to think about dangerous chemicals we use, because when we break down, we've got a mixture of chemicals going onto a costume. We also have to think about fireproofing things if artists are going to be close to naked flames or things that might spark off an item that they're wearing. I'd like to say yes, but because of the speed we work at, it tends to be a no question. There's more verbal communication. However, if something is wanted to be made, very often a designer will actually draw what they require. Most of it is verbal and written. And as I say, with the nature of the continuity now and using photographs, we tend to draw less as well there. We tend to photograph more. Yes, yes. You have to be aware of your health and safety aspects. You have to be aware of all your hiring in and hiring out, so booking in and booking out systems. You also have to be aware of terms and conditions from various people, who's insured for things. So are the terms and conditions for bringing it in on their insurance, or do we have to make sure our production company is insured for whatever it is we're doing? We have to be aware of COSH regulations, which is control of substances hazardous to health. There's lots of documentations, including the continuity file, which we keep them for so many years so that we can refer back if anything comes up again. So there is lots of different types of documentation, and we do keep files in areas where we know where we can lay our hands on them. The BBC standards try to be of the utmost, so I would say that the commercial companies actually fall in line with where the BBC stand.